We recently traveled to Chicago for a preview of Dali's newest Epikore speakers, the more affordable Epikore 9, Epikore 7, and Epikore 3. The new speakers follow last year's release of the Epikore flagship, the Epikore 11, which is on the cover of the December 2024 issue of the Absolute Sound magazine. The technology on offer is impressive, and the prices are upper mid-range, so we wanted to see if the tech of the new speakers paralleled the Epikore 11, and see if the sound of the new speakers hinted at that pedigree. Let's check it out. Okay, Denmark is a small country with a population about the size of Miami, but the Danes seem to love audio, and as a result, Denmark is home to many major speaker manufacturers, including Bang & Olufsen, Griffin, Borison, Dynaudio, and today's subject, Dali. Dali is especially interesting because they approach loudspeakers with an aggressive engineering mindset. They're music lovers, and they're doing things in service of the music, but they clearly believe that they can use various kinds of engineering science to get closer to the absolute sound. Some of these ideas will be the main subject of this preview. Let's talk about the Epikore line, which I referenced earlier. The line was introduced, as I mentioned, in 2023 with a single model, the Epikore 11, which is priced at $60,000 per pair. The Epikore 11 followed on the launch of the Core speaker, you can kind of see the naming convention here, which is Dali's flagship and the result of a multi-year engineering program to examine every area of loudspeaker design and come up with better ways to do things. Andre Jennings reviewed the Epikore 11 in the December 2024 issue of the Absolute Sound. A link in the description allows you to purchase a digital copy if you want the full details. Andre noted that the Epikore 11 delivers resolution and excellent sound staging with a sense that distortion is very low. We'll come back to this. He also noted that the Epikore 11 is a powerful speaker and well suited to large rooms. Maybe I should say primarily suited to larger rooms. With this last point in mind, Dali has just introduced the Epikore 9 at $40,000, the Epikore 7 at $25,000, and the Epikore 3 at $18,000 per pair. These share some drivers and many technologies with the Epikore 11, but are designed to work in listening rooms of varying sizes.
I'm proud to introduce to the North American market our top-of-the-range products from the metronome range, which are Tiaco 2 and Siaco 2. These products have been released in the Munich show, so in May this year, so they are very, very new, and they are top of the range of metronome products. Tiaco 2 is a SACD transport, and Siaco 2 is a DA converter. Each of these products can come with specific option, which is streaming option, so you can choose to put it in either in the transport or in the converter.
All right. I promise some talk about the science and engineering behind these because Dali has quite a big and complicated story to tell. I'll simplify it a little bit, but to summarize, at the start, the new Epikores have an interesting two-way hybrid tweeter design. The 1.4-inch or 35 millimeter tweeter runs from about 3K up to 12.5 kilohertz. You may note that the dome tweeter is larger than the typical 1-inch dome, which should give the larger tweeter better response in the lower range of the driver. And yet, the crossover frequency is kind of high. Dali believes that timing between drivers is critical and that lower order, that is lower slope crossovers, are important. With such a crossover, the tweeter must behave nicely well below the nominal crossover frequency, perhaps down to 400 hertz or thereabouts. That's quite a challenge, and hence the larger dome. The large dome tends to roll off and have narrower dispersion at very high frequencies, so Dali adds a planar magnetic super tweeter to cover the frequencies above 12 kilohertz. At the launch, they did an interesting test by covering up the super tweeters, and yes, they make a difference even though they only affect overtone reproduction on certain instruments. As we've noted elsewhere, research indicates that the ear can perceive transient information at frequencies well above where it registers sinusoidal sounds. At the other end of the frequency spectrum, the bass, Dali uses a ported enclosure, but the port is continuously flared to maintain laminar airflow and the port is angled and placed close to each bass driver, when there's more than one, to improve timing. The cabinets are curved and braced, but Dali emphasizes that excessive stiffness can simply shift energy into the midband where it's easier to hear. Therefore, tuning of the cabinet must be thought of as an optimization process that respects the distribution of musical energy and the way the ear works. Speakers are complex systems where the apparent magic comes from a careful mix of many elements to make intelligent trade-offs. Yes, there's no magic, we know. But if you're looking for a single technical element of the Epikore line that makes it special, it would appear to be something called SMC. SMC is soft magnetic composite, but the big idea comes from an understanding of how speaker magnets typically work. A quick summary is that your speaker makes sounds by the diaphragms moving air back and forth. To move the diaphragm, a cone-type speaker runs the amplifier signal through a wire voice coil. The voice coil is inside a magnetic structure, and when electrical current goes through a wire in a magnetic field, the wire will move. Theoretically, the magnet could move, but the magnet is bolted to the cabinet, so that's not going to happen. The wire pushes the diaphragm, and voila, you have sound. That's fine and all, except that many speakers use iron in their magnetic circuits because iron has excellent magnetic performance, or you might say it's cheaper. But iron is also electrically conductive. That electrical conductivity supports a phenomenon called eddy currents and another called hysteresis. Both eddy currents and hysteresis lead to driver distortions. Dali shows the SMC effect on measured driver distortion, which can be reduced from around 0.5% with iron to well below 0.1% with SMC. Similarly, the nonlinear hysteresis of iron-based drivers shows up in their different behavior moving forwards and backwards. With SMC, this nonlinearity is almost eliminated. Related to this, Dali seems somewhat fanatical about reducing mechanical resistance. This extends, for example, to their choice of surround materials and to their choice to reduce or eliminate ferrofluids from the voice coil area. All right, let's talk about sound, because all of this is nice, but we really need to hear what it does. We had a brief chance to listen to all three new speakers at Simply Stereo in Chicago, which I have to say is a very nice store. A common denominator from the new line is a sense of quietness of the speakers where the sound just comes through against a silent background because the speaker doesn't seem to add any fuzz or resonance or an edge to the sound. And yet that sound is detailed and dynamic. The other common denominator we noted was that the new line delivers excellent imaging. These things are hard to assess in unfamiliar surroundings, but on the other hand, you generally can't do musically believable things without doing something right. I'm looking forward to further evaluation of the new Epikore line. Until then, for those who want to know more, we'll put a link in the description to a white paper from Dali on the Epikore 11 that largely applies to the new speakers as well. And, as I said before, check out Andre's review of the Epikore 11 in the magazine. I hope you've enjoyed this preview of the new Dali Epikore line. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.